Hi guys, my name is Abba and welcome back to my amazing kitchen. In today's video, we are cooking something delicious. We are cooking beef stir fry. So easy to make and it pairs very well with some steaming hot rice. So come along and let's get right into the video. So I have already started. I'm tenderizing my beef. I'm using a flank steak. You can use rib eye. Just make sure that the cut of beef you use is good for stir fry and that it cooks faster. If you have no idea, you can ask your butcher and they will advise you on the cut of meat to choose. So with a rolling pin or a tapoli as you saw me do, you want to bash on your meat and get it as flat as possible. This will break down the fiber and make your meat very tender, and it makes it pleasant to chew once it's cooked. Now just go ahead and cut your beef into bite-sized pieces. It really doesn't matter how you cut them. You can do it into strips or flat shape like I'm doing. The only thing is that you keep in mind that we are stir frying, so you don't want to cut them too big because we want them to cook as fast as possible. So once you are done slicing your beef, you want to transfer it into a bowl and then proceed with the next step. To your beef, you want to add a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of just plain water, and 1 tablespoon of rice wine. You are going to mix everything together and set this aside for about 10 to 15 minutes. This step is not to marinate the beef, but it is just to clean it. So if you have any other way that you clean your beef, you can go ahead and do that in this step. Now I'm going to cover with some cling film and set it aside. In the meantime, I'm going to prep my veggies so that once my beef is done, we can just go ahead and start with our stir fry. This is quick action when you are stir frying, so you want to have everything prepped and ready to go. In this recipe, I want the beef to be the star of the dish, and so I'm keeping my vegetables very minimum, and so I'm using just 1 large green bell pepper and 1 red, but you can feel free to use any vegetables that you prefer. The best way to enjoy this stir fry is to make sure that there is a good balance between the vegetables and the beef. That is the way to enjoy this recipe the most. For the look and feel I'm going for, I just cut my bell peppers into large chunks, just like I would cut them if I were to use them for my beef kebabs, that is chinchinga. But it really doesn't matter, so you can go ahead and cut them in any form, size or shape that you prefer. It is your beef stir fry. I cut my onions the same way as well, but I just separate them after cutting them. I planned to use 2 onions, but at this point I realized that this was more than enough, so I ended up using just 1 onion. So now I'm going to transfer all my chopped vegetables into a bowl, set it aside and proceed with the next step. So this is about 10 to 15 minutes after we added the baking soda, the rice wine and water to the beef. And you can already tell the amount of color that is being pulled out of the beef. This step is to clean the beef, but the baking soda and the rice wine in there will also help and tenderize your beef some more. I'm going to go ahead and rinse it a couple more times and then allow it to sit in my colander until it is completely drained. Pat it dry with some paper towel and then proceed with the next step. To marinate my beef, I'm going to add some black pepper, freshly cracked because it tastes better, 1 tablespoon of some ginger and garlic paste, add some oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon of some olive oil, a tablespoon of some sesame oil, 2 teaspoons of honey, and if you don't have honey, you can substitute this with some brown sugar. You can also check the description box for a full list of ingredients with the correct measurements. Finally, add a tablespoon of some soy sauce and now mix everything together until every single beef is well coated. This is what is going to make your beef taste so delicious. Now set this aside whilst we move on with the next step. Next, we are going to work on the sauce for our beef, and for that we need some water. You can replace it with some beef stock if you have that. Add some rice wine, soy sauce, and I'm using here a combination of light and dark soy sauce, a tablespoon of ginger and garlic paste, oyster sauce, 1.5 teaspoons of some freshly cracked black pepper, 4 teaspoons of cornstarch or corn flour, and finally a tablespoon of some sesame oil. Now you want to whisk all the ingredients together until it becomes very smooth and silky. You can customize the flavor and the taste of this sauce by adding more or less of the ingredients we just added. So now that we are done with prepping, it is finally time to bring the entire dish together. So in my wok, I have added some peanut oil, and once it's well heated, I'm going to drop in my beef. Once you add the beef, please resist the temptation to stir it right away. Just allow it to be for maybe 2 minutes before you stir it, and that is going to give you a perfect sear. The beef might also stick to your wok if you try to stir it right away, so just leave it to sear for it to firm up before you turn them over. For the perfect result, I will recommend that you do this step in maybe 2 or 3 batches depending on the amount of beef you are using. That is how you get them to fry perfectly like this. If you overcrowd your wok, you might not get the same results. So after about 4 to 5 minutes, my beef is perfectly cooked, so I scoop them out of my wok and transfer it onto a plate for later. In the meantime, I almost finished the beef because I wanted to taste just one. So be warned, don't even try it. I cleaned my wok and added more oil to it, and now I add my vegetables because my oil is hot. My heat is on high right now, and I'm going to stir fry this for just about 2 minutes. We still want our veggies to be very firm and crunchy, so you don't want to overcook this at all. You just need a few minutes to toss them around and you are good to go. Now pour over the sauce we made, and because your wok is still very hot, the cornstarch will almost thicken your sauce right away. Continue to stir this around until your sauce becomes this glossy. Just look at that. Can you see how the sauce coats the back of your spatula? That's how I want it. If you want it a bit thinner, you can just add more soy sauce or maybe just plain water to loosen up the sauce. Finally, add in your beef. That is, if at this point you have not finished all of them like I almost did. And continue stirring this until the sauce coats the beef beautifully and your sauce is actually done. You can serve this with some piping hot basmati rice and you are going to have yourself a good time. I promise you that. So until I come your way next time with another amazingly delicious recipe, cook this meal with love and see it radiate through the hearts of your family. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you in my next video. Bye!